What's going on, everyone? So, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Boston Celtics. There were reports that two teams in particular really intrigue Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that is the Miami Heat, which seem to be the most likely scenario. I mean, there's already talks going around. Can always take all that stuff with a grain of salt, a major grain of salt. There's already talks going around that Giannis's people are already looking for houses in Miami, and that I've seen some hey, it's a done deal. They're just waiting for the NBA Finals to get done before they announce it. But as soon as the Finals is over, expect Giannis to Miami. Hey, look, maybe it's true. Maybe that's the case. Miami does make some sense, right? But again, like I said, take all that stuff with a huge grain of salt. But again, Miami is one of the teams. And the other team is the Boston Celtics, which Boston's kind of interesting. Right? Obviously, you have Jason Tatum. Then you have Jaylen Brown. You'd have to trade one of them. Jaylen Brown is the guy that is very likely going to go. Some of his comments, I mean, he clearly wants to be the guy, right? And there was already talks, about both sides kind of departing this offseason. You could do worse than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now you have Jason Tatum and Giannis as your two guys. I think that's very interesting. It just, again, if you're Boston, it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to have to trade Jaylen Brown or get off of Jaylen Brown, there's talks about, him and some of the players and organization not really seeing eye to eye and stuff. And, again, you never know how true any of that stuff is. So, The reality, the only thing we know is what Jaylen Brown has said, and he's kind of made it sound like he wants to leave Boston, and to an extent, I'm sure he'd be fine staying, but it seems like he wants to. He wants to be a guy. Right? He even said this is the most fun I've had. This is the best year of my career type thing. Most fun I've had in my career, and it's how coincidental that. It's the 1 year you're the guy, the sole guy, and you get to take 30 shots and do everything, right? Of course, it's your favorite year. So that is something worth noting as well. Question is, where does Jaylen Brown go? Because if you're Milwaukee, I don't think Jaylen Brown makes a ton of sense. Because if you're trading Giannis, you're trying to hit the reset button here. Portland is an organization that wants Giannis, one, but also may want Jaylen Brown. Yeah, and you could argue Jaylen Brown go there and be the guy, Denny Advia be the second guy. Thing is, Jaylen Brown wants to be the guy, right? But every team he'd go to already has a guy, unless he wants to go to Brooklyn or something like that. Outside of that, I think Jaylen Brown, if he goes to Miami, sure, maybe he could be the guy in Miami, right? Him and Bam Adebayo, but Bam's there, right? You go to Portland, it's Denny Advia's there. You go to the Lakers, it's Luke is there. You go to anywhere, San Antonio, they all have those guys. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if you're is OKC willing to go there, you get J-Dub and stuff. Jaylen Brown for J-Dub, but then again, he's got SGA. I don't know, it's just because I don't think he's going to want to go to a bad team. He's going to want to go to a contending team, right? So that would immediately be the thought in question in my mind. It's where is he going to go type thing. But I don't know, if you're Boston, I think you pull it off if you can. Right? Giannis, Jason Tatum, Derek White, you can now kind of build around Tatum and Giannis, which both guys have injury concerns. Obviously, Jason Tatum would be first full year off an Achilles. And Giannis, he hasn't been a model of health the last few years. But those two are healthy. I mean, talking one of the best duos, if not arguably the best duo in basketball. Right? Giannis, there's only maybe 3 guys in the league better than Giannis. 4 guys maybe. That are better than Giannis. And, Jason Tatum, if he can kind of get back to form, then And I think Jason Tatum would let Giannis be Giannis. Like, I think Giannis could be Giannis. And now it's just the only thing is like, would Giannis play center? Because like the thought process is based on how Boston likes to play, right? And Joe Mazzulla and everything like that. Like they want to just take 53s. Now, granted, if you have Giannis, maybe that changes. Maybe it's just like this is the team that we have, so it makes the most sense. But like, because the thing is like, if you go with Guaita and then you have like Giannis, let's say, or say you go with Vucevic as your starter, and then because he can kind of spread the floor, is that the route you're gonna go? Like if Giannis is willing to play center, I would just like move Giannis to the center and then have 4 out, 1 in. Kind of play like Orlando did with Dwight, right? Let Giannis be on the inside so he can operate, and then you have 4 spacers, and then his ability to just get downhill, drive and kick, and make plays and grab rebounds and go back up and stuff like that. Especially in the East. In the West, it's like, man, you're going up against like Jokic and Wemby and all these centers like every night. Zach Edey, all these guys like every night. It's like a new center, right? Like in the East, and Giannis has played center some, right? But it's like it's one thing to play it in spots, one thing to like, hey, that's your position now. But that also might be best for him, for the rest of his career, right? The last however many years, 5 years or whatever of his career, it's like, I think it'd be easier just transition into that center. Like you could let him get downhill, get in transition, do all that stuff. Right? You'd have him and then Jason Tatum. I mean, you could even have, Tatum be your 4 and then Giannis be your 5. Now you got the best front court in basketball. And then, again, keep Derek White, have get the floor spacing with 3 and D. I don't know. I don't hate it. I really don't. I don't hate it at all. Are you just doing a Jaylen Brown swap? Probably not. You're probably going to have to give up picks. So it's like, how many picks? And then if you're Milwaukee, again, I don't think Jaylen Brown makes a ton of sense. So my guess is like you would go and try to hit the reset there. I don't know. It's just be interesting for sure. Be an interesting route for Giannis and Boston, and then of course, the Milwaukee Bucks, because you probably got to loop in another 3rd, 4th team, because I just don't think it makes sense for Jaylen Brown to go to Milwaukee. I mean, you get to be the guy, so maybe. But anyways, always, this is a discussion. I pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else not, if you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.